Hogwarts Legacy 2 is officially happening, guys, and I could not be more excited. After the insane success of Hogwarts Legacy in February of last year to it becoming the best-selling video game of 2023, it's coming, guys. We now know that Hogwarts Legacy 2 is indeed in the works. Now, the hype and excitement for a sequel has been ramping up quite a bit lately, especially after the job listings from Avalanche Software to the now official confirmation of the sequel's existence by Warner Brothers. Today, we are going to delve back into Hogwarts Legacy and discuss all of the confirmed details we have for the sequel and explore all of the possibilities. Will we continue our characters' journey into their 6th year and learn about what happened after the events of the last game? Or will it be a fresh story set in a different era with all new cast and characters? How do they plan on evolving the gameplay, combat, and world? I'll be covering that and more, so check the video chapters for easy viewing, and let's get into it. Well, I didn't expect to be getting any news about Hogwarts Legacy 2 before GTA 6, but here we are. It's happening. Hogwarts Legacy 2 has been effectively confirmed. In a new report from Variety, the CFO of Warner Brothers Discovery spoke about the next game, and unless I'm forgetting something, I believe this is the first time that any mentions of Hogwarts Legacy's successor has been talked about by Avalanche or WB themselves. But according to the Variety article, they said this, and I quote, "On the heels of Warner Brothers games releasing Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, Warner Brothers Discovery's CFO has confirmed that a more direct sequel to Hogwarts Legacy is the goal of the team moving forward." They then provided us with a direct quote from the CFO that says the following: "Obviously, a successor to Hogwarts Legacy is one of the biggest priorities in a couple of years down the road." And they said this during an interview with Bank of America's Media and Communications Entertainment Conference on Wednesday, which is probably the longest name for a conference I've ever heard. But continuing on, the CFO said, "There is certainly a significant growth contribution from Hogwarts Legacy in our strategic outlook here." And as I said, prior to these comments, there had been no mention of a sequel in development. We all kind of expected it, but there hasn't been anything concrete or, I guess, official. I mean, let's be real here, guys. Hogwarts Legacy was the #1 selling game of last year, so you would think that a successor would be obvious, but something WB and things. But the part that really stuck out to me the most was the timeline that was given, which was quote unquote in a couple of years down the road. Now, this is by no means the official timeline, which I'll talk more about the release timeline later on in the video, but it is very curious. But the one thing that this news does do is it confirms the job listings by Avalanche Software over on their website are indeed for Hogwarts Legacy 2. Now, for those of you that don't know, there's been a number of job listings on the Avalanche website that state that the applicant will be working on open world RPG games or quote unquote action and magical combat games, and will be helping create what's next. Now, while this news does sound really exciting, there have been some concerns raised regarding another line in that same job listing that states this: "Participate in all parts of the development process from the concept through to live ops." This line is of course being interpreted as live service to some, but it's not. It's live operations, which refers to changes, updates, or improvements to the game without having to release a brand new game. Now, live operations do happen with live service titles, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Hogwarts Legacy 2 will be a live service title. Now, there has been some concerning comments from David Zaslav, the CEO of WB, but something tells me that they're not going to risk another live service model with this game, especially after the disaster that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was. So now that Hogwarts Legacy 2 has been confirmed, the question now that immediately comes to mind is, where does Avalanche Software plan on taking things with the game's story? Will it be a direct sequel, perhaps take place in a different time period? Now, it's impossible to know at this point, but I think what makes the most sense for them is to continue the story directly after the ending of Hogwarts Legacy 1. But like the books, the next installment would take place in the next year at Hogwarts, so in our case, it'll be our 6th year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which that is the safest option for them. Games that are direct sequels are much easier to develop, or I guess take less time, than ones that require developing every system from the ground up. And that's not to mention the characters, which I honestly thought were awesome in the first game, and I'd love to learn more about them, mainly characters like Sebastian Sallow, Poppy, Professor Weasley, Professor Sharp, and Phineas Nigellus Black. As you know, the first game centered around ancient magic, with Ranrock and Rookwood as the villains, who are trying to use that magic to take over wizard kind, or in Rookwood's case, gaining ultimate power. The ending, of course, gives us the ultimate choice on whether to keep the ancient magic a secret or expose it to the rest of the wizarding world. So narratively speaking, the choice we made at the end of Hogwarts Legacy 1 should have a lasting impact on the narrative of the sequel. With the antagonists of the first game not really in the picture anymore, or so we think at least, the developers effectively have like a clean slate to work with, Now, I've seen some theories that suggest that Isadora isn't actually dead and she will be the main antagonist of the sequel, with her seeking to finish what she initially started. I mean, let's be honest here, guys. If Rookwood can take a killing curse, why wouldn't Isadora be able to? Maybe Isadora had some Horcruxes we don't know about. It's hard saying. Doubt that's the case, but it would be pretty interesting. Now, there's also the possibility that Sebastian's fate in the previous game sends him down a full dark wizard path, and he tries to take revenge on us in the next game. Now, could our character be the villain of the next game as well? I mean, let's be real here, guys. We've been using ancient magic and unforgivable curses willy-nilly with no consequences. So perhaps the sequel is when we will finally get consequences for our actions in the first game. Maybe it'll be like a professor that ends up being evil that takes over the castle in the next game, kind of like an Umbridge type character. So basically a plant like Umbridge from the Ministry of Magic that just goes into Hogwarts, inserts themselves, and serves at the pleasure of the Minister for Magic and not the headmaster. Like I said, there's a ton of possibilities for where Avalanche could take things for the sequel, and honestly, I doubt they even know yet either. I'm sure that they're still in the pre-production stage of development, finishing up the script and stuff. But I think my biggest request for the game sequel is if Hogwarts Legacy 2 has a morality system of some sorts, let the decisions we make throughout the narrative have an impact on the outcome of the game. Now, with Hogwarts Legacy 2 likely being a sequel and not an entirely new experience, the devs won't have to spend nearly as much time developing out the core systems. This means that most of the development will be focused on expanding the experience and adding more depth. For those of you that don't know, the original Hogwarts Legacy was actually meant to be a much deeper RPG with a morality system, companion system. The list of cut features is actually pretty wild to look at, but with this being the second game taking place in the same region, the developers are going to have to innovate in some way to avoid the situation that is common with other open world games like Spider-Man 1, Miles Morales into Spider-Man 2. You almost have to do an entire overhaul to the game world to prevent it from feeling stale. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom left literally no stone unturned, and the same could be said for other sequel games as well. Now, the way the team at Insomniac made Spider-Man 1, Miles Morales, and 2 fresh was by adding new areas to explore and features to move around the map. Hogwarts Legacy 2 needs to flesh out the southern region, but also add new locations like Diagon Alley. Even though we went to Gringotts in the first game, having an entire area to explore would also be cool. I'd also like to visit the Ministry of Magic. Maybe we have to go to the Ministry and then be tried for using the ancient magic, as well as some unforgivable curses last year. Perhaps we're testifying on behalf of Sebastian Sallow. But when it comes to the actual gameplay, I think the main thing the developers should focus on are the core systems, but then add more depth to those current systems. I also think Hogwarts Legacy needs to have a morality system of some sort. As I mentioned before, it was in the files that a morality system was cut, and they definitely need to bring that back for this game. I'm not saying they need to make it as deep as Red Dead Redemption, but if it's somewhere in the middle, that would be awesome. Heck, they can even tie it to the house point system as well. Like, you do something wrong, it's minus points. You do something right, you gain points. They could even add like milestones where as you gain more house points, you unlock new areas or even favor with some professors and students or just other activities as well. Now, another piece of content that was cut was a full companion system. Hogwarts Legacy 2 should have a companion system, or even a Final Fantasy like party system would be pretty cool. I feel like this is where the gameplay and combat could really innovate on the next game. Building up you and your companions as you play the game would provide plenty of new options for progression as well. You'd also get that classic Harry Potter feeling of working in a group of 3. Like, imagine you're going into a quest and you have to pick 2 other people to add to your group, like let's say Poppy and Sebastian, and you have to work together with your crew to complete a certain area to progress in the game. Now, another thing that Hogwarts Legacy 2 will feature is more spells and potions, but this time there needs to be more story tied to the progression of these spells and potions. Make it so that most of the spells are tied to specific classes, or at the very least class activities. Let's say you want to unlock the Expecto Patronum charm. The first thing you're going to have to do is go around the castle and find Boggarts and use the Patronus charm on them. Once you get the 5 done, you unlock the basic Patronus. But then let's say you find 20 Boggarts around the school and then you use your Patronus on them. That will unlock a fully animated Patronus charm of your choosing. Something to just give you the sense of learning and practicing at school tied to the progression would be really awesome. I guarantee most of you watching this video will be totally fine with having to attend more classes at Hogwarts. I'm not saying the game needs to be a full Hogwarts student simulator, but there's just something about learning more about witchcraft and wizardry that is really intriguing, and with how memorable the professors are from the first game, lean in on them a bit more for the next game. Like, it is supposed to be Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. We want more schooling. And the same goes for potions class, magical beasts, and herbology. Now, one of the biggest disappointments with Hogwarts Legacy pre-launch launch was the fact that Quidditch was not featured in the game, and there were some other mini games like Wizard's Chess and Gobstones that were also not featured. With this game being a sequel, the small things are really going to matter this time around. It's not like they have to go and build the game from scratch again, so having fun activities like this would be really cool. And now that Harry Potter Quidditch Champions is out, there should be no reason why playable Quidditch should not be possible for Hogwarts Legacy 2. If they had Quidditch in the first game, it probably would have took about 20 hours of my time in my first playthrough. But as I said, now that Champions is out, I wouldn't see why they couldn't put it in this time around. I also think Hogwarts Legacy 2 featuring the Triwizard Tournament would be sick as well. Now, the 3 tasks would not only provide good gameplay opportunities, but it would also add a bunch of variety to the castle's population. Now, with all of this being said, when could Hogwarts Legacy 2 realistically release? Well, according to the CFO, they said it would be a couple years, but that's not going to happen, let's be honest here. My best guess would be sometime in the tail end of the 2020s, sometime in 2027, maybe 2028, possibly even 2029. Hogwarts Legacy was a massive game, and with the successor being a sequel, it will surely speed up the game's development. But if the devs and Warner Brothers want to catch lightning in a bottle a second time, the only way that's possible is to create a truly good game. The devs showed us with Hogwarts Legacy that they weren't afraid to delay the game if it meant releasing a good game. So as long as they keep that same mindset and don't let WB try anything with the live service components, this game could easily be a bigger game than the last one. Now, the game would also likely release around the same time that the show would be airing, or at least one season of the show. So the hype and excitement of the Harry Potter IP is only going to grow. We just need Avalanche Software to cook. But that's going to wrap it up with this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on. What feature would you like to see in Hogwarts Legacy 2 the most? Where do you think Avalanche Software will take things with the story? Let me know down in the comment section. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.